Hello Leo, and welcome to your lunar cycle reading for the lunar cycle beginning with the solar eclipse new moon in your sign on the 11th of August as we come out of the Lion's Gateway, and completing with the new moon in Virgo on the 9th of September. So this is your time, Leo. This is the final Leo eclipse in this cycle, apart from a lunar eclipse which will occur early next year, but by that time the nodes will have moved into Cancer and Capricorn, so it won't be impacting you so much. So this is the last really powerful eclipse in your sign of this cycle, so that's quite exciting. And know that it's been a very, very intense time for you, with Mars retrograding in your opposite sign, Uranus coming into Taurus in your 10th house. You know, there's a lot of change, a lot of recalibration that's been going on for you, who are the shining light of our zodiac. So this lunar cycle really is what I am calling the great unwinding, because we're having a lot of planets changing direction over the next 4 weeks. There's many more earthy, grounding energies that are coming in that are really going to help us to integrate all of these downloads, all of these changes that have been happening. Although the last few weeks of August, you know, from now really until the 19th, are still quite active. From then on, you know, the energy becomes a lot more slow and steady, and we can begin to reap some of the rewards for the hard work that we have been doing over the past, you know, throughout the eclipse season, and even since earlier this year, because what a year it has been. So we start this month with the eclipse in your sign, in your first house, and we know that Mercury is retrograde in your sign as well, so things may feel quite overwhelming for you, Leo. There's a deep soul level recalibration, a reprogramming going on around how you interact with the world, how you present yourself to the world, and also how you interact with others. The eclipses and the Mars energy that is happening in your 7th house of partnership is really calling you to let go of the old mental programs around relationships. You know, it's that balance of self versus other, independence versus codependence that has been so active for you. Perhaps there has been some relationships that you've had to detach and disconnect from. Perhaps there's been some, you know, deep soul growth coming through the other. You know, perhaps you're really recognizing yourself in the mirror of other people at this time. So there's a lot going on, and you are being asked to really shed the old conditioning, you know, all of that stuff that keeps you in lack, that keeps you in seeking approval outside of yourself, that stops you really owning how wonderful you are, Leo, because you are, you know, you inspire the rest of the zodiac, Leo. You are the radiant light. You are the soul star. And you uplift others just by allowing your true essence to shine. You show us all how to express ourselves creatively, how to express ourselves authentically, how to believe in ourselves. So if you aren't feeling those energies inside yourself at the moment, if you aren't feeling that love and connection with yourself, with your creativity, with your fire, with your passion, now is the time to let go of those things that are holding you back. This is a new moon, so it's a new beginning, but it's also an eclipse, and you know, it's not always the best idea to set things into motion on a new moon eclipse, because the cosmos is a little bit out of whack, and things can manifest in ways that we don't expect. And also we have a lot of planets still retrograde at the time of this eclipse. So although this does give you the opportunity to see things with fresh eyes, it's perhaps not the best time for really setting intentions for forward movement. But you can still utilize this energy to rebirth yourself. You know, with the retrogrades, we're still looking within, and you know, this retrograde this new moon in particular will be conjunct retrograde Mercury. So this can be a really catalytic, clarifying moment for you, where you say, okay, I'm not going to hold on to these old patterns anymore. I'm not going to keep myself stuck anymore. I'm not going to seek approval from my partner, from my relationships. I'm going to love myself exactly as I am in the here and now. I'm going to fearlessly share my courageous heart with the world, because I'm going to inspire others just by being me. So it's a potent time for you, and it's a simultaneous death and rebirth that could be happening at this moment, Leo. So hold tight, hold tight. Calmer times are coming if you're really feeling like you've been put through the mill during this eclipse season. So on the same day that Mercury stations direct, we have a beautiful, beneficent aspect forming in the cosmos. We have Jupiter coming into his final trine with Neptune. And you might remember this energy from summer. There was a huge grand water trine that was forming between Jupiter, Neptune, and the Sun and Venus as they move through Cancer in early June and July this year. And this can reactivate some of that beautiful, flowing, healing energy for us all. And it's nice that it's happening at the same day that Mercury stations, because those can be intense days. Although he is moving forward from that point, he is still moving slowly, and things can still be sticky, things can still be delayed and frustrated. So the Jupiter-Neptune energy is moving from your 4th to your 8th house, and this can bring some deep inner emotional healing. The 4th house is the womb space of our birth chart. It holds all of the information, all of the hereditary patterns that we carry from our mother line, from our early childhood. It's the space of safety and security, of memory and emotion. The 8th house, the Scorpio house, the house of alchemy, of deep soul diving, of psychological processing. So this is a time when we can really heal old patterns. We may have some insight, some aha moments. Perhaps somebody offers to give us some healing, or perhaps we receive a divinely inspired message at the right moment that gives us the key to free ourselves from the pain of the past and begin to start healing on a soul level, perhaps as a part of ourselves that we're calling back at this time, you know. Perhaps we're remembering who we truly are with all of these energies that are going on in our sign. So it's an important time of healing as we reach the mid part of the month, around the 23rd, because also on the 26th of August there is a Pisces full moon, and this will bring closure to the energies initiated at the Leo New Moon eclipse. And Pisces is this beautiful, again, very flowing, very fluid water sign. Pisces is the energy of compassion, of healing. So this will be a time for all of us of, washing away the residue of the fear, of the intensity of anything that has risen up during the eclipse season. It will be, a real turning point. And again, this is falling in your 8th house of soul healing, of soul retrieval, of transformation. So this can be a peak time of letting go for you, Leo. Letting go of some of those emotions that have been churning around. It can really illuminate old stuff that we're holding on to mentally, spiritually. emotionally. It can really help us to bring compassion to those sides of ourselves that we try to hide. The 8th house is Scorpio, it's the shadow, it's the underworld. So quite often it'll be the things that we feel are unlovable about us that we try and bury in the 8th house. And Pisces, you know, this beautiful energy of forgiveness and acceptance can really help us to forgive ourselves, to forgive others. You know, this can be a time of reworking our intimate connections. The 8th house is also about sexuality, soul bonding through intimacy, alchemy through intimacy. So maybe we are using this energy to wash away any residual energetic ties to previous partners, perhaps somebody that we had to let go of during the transit of Mars through and the lunar eclipse in our 7th house of partnership. So a beautiful time of release. You know, don't be afraid to let the tears flow. Don't be afraid to surrender all that you are still carrying, all of the burdens, all of the worries. Just let it go. Let it flow into the river of Piscean love. So on the 23rd, the sun will have moved into Virgo just before that Pisces full moon. So that full moon will also illuminate the 2nd 8th house axis of your birth chart. So this can also speak to us of resources and the resources that we share with others. So as the sun moves into the 2nd house of value and self-worth and prosperity, it will make a healing grand earth trine between Saturn in your 6th house and Uranus in your 10th house. So these are the houses, the earth houses of your birth chart, where we can see tangible manifestations, results for the hard work that we have been putting in. So perhaps you've been working on reclaiming your power, working on owning your gifts and talents, working on knowing yourself as a valuable person, knowing that what you share with the world is valuable and you deserve to be adequately compensated for what you're giving out. So as this energy comes into formation, you might start to see some results manifesting in the physical reality, Leo. Perhaps there will be a promotion, a new job offer, a new opportunity for you to create some extra financial support in your life. You know, if you've been struggling since Uranus entered your 10th house back in May, if you've been, you know, making changes in your career, making it more authentic, or, you know, perhaps there's just been a sudden shock or a change that has forced you to look for a different vocation, then this energy can be really supportive and can bring some benefits to you. So be open to the opportunities that come around that time. As we kind of come to the end of August, Mars stations direct in your 6th house. He's moved back into Capricorn just after the eclipse in your sign on the 12th of August. And he finally stations direct in your 6th house. And this can be a revisiting of issues around health, work, routines that was rising up in May, particularly the 11th to the 16th of May this year. This can bring some clarity, some insight, some resolution. But as we know, Mars was mostly retrograde in your 7th house of partnership. And this could have, like I've mentioned earlier, could have been quite a journey for you. So as he begins to move direct, you'll be able to really start to see the effects of the internal changes that you've been making in your partnerships, in your connections with others. You know, you'll be able to see some of the results of the inner work that you've been doing and learning how to relate to other people. As he, you know, from the 10th of September, he will re-enter that 7th house. So issues can start to clear up again with work, with routines, with our day-to-day offerings of service to the world, and also our relationship. So this is that process that I mentioned of unwinding. Okay, all of the things I've been learning, I've been dealing with internally, now the results start to be seen. And that's amplified as Saturn also stations direct in your 6th house on the 6th of September, Leo. So Saturn has been in that 6th house since the winter solstice last year, since the 21st of December 2017, and he has been retrograde there since April time this year. And it's a very intense transit to have Saturn in the 6th house, because it is the house of purification. It is the house of details, of the practical, of the mundane, of work, or, you know, public service, service that we're offering to others. So Saturn here can be quite a heavy and oppressive energy. So if you've been doing work to declutter your life, to restructure your life, to reorganize your life, to realign your work to service, if you have been purifying your body, purifying your surroundings, you know, purifying yourself mentally, spiritually and emotionally, it's a multi-level transit when this happens, which is once every 28 years. And this can also be a transit that can make us very hard, very self-critical on ourselves. You know, we can feel just not good enough. We're dealing with Virgo energy. We're dealing with the energy, the essence of perfection. And Saturn is the taskmaster, so there might be a pressure to get everything perfect at this time, which may also be why you've been changing the way that you present yourself to the world. So any effort that you've been putting into these areas can now start to flow, you know. Again, perhaps we'll see a change in career, a change in work. If you've been trying to build something, if you've been trying to build a business, now we can start to see some manifestations for the internal work you've been doing, the work you've been doing behind the scenes, the work you've been doing tending to details. If you've started a new disciplined regime in your life of some kind, perhaps a diet, perhaps an exercise plan, or perhaps you've simply just, you know, reorganized your diary to make yourself more productive. Now Saturn will grant you the gifts, he will grant you the harvest, the bounty that you've been working towards. We're going to close the month with a new moon in the sign of Virgo in your 2nd house, in opposition to Neptune in your 8th house. So this can first of all highlight where we may have been overgiving, over generous with our time, energy and money, resources. And it can also give us the opportunity to call forward a new level of abundance, a new level of value. It's really nice when you have a new moon in the 2nd house. It's one of my favorite times of the year, because it's the fertile house of the birth chart. It's the Taurus house. It's where we seed our intentions in earth and watch them grow and blossom. So whatever you put into motion at this time, although it might not manifest particularly rapidly because we're dealing with Virgo and Taurus, it will eventually take form and blossom and yield a harvest, yield results. So this new moon will be a brilliant time for you, Leo, to start to call forward what you wish for the next cycle. We're coming up to the equinox point. The next 6 months are on our mind. You know, perhaps we've been clearing out the old in preparation for this shift in energy. So ask yourself, you know, what dreams, goals, visions, ideals do I have? Now I've come out of this period of rebirth, I've changed, and what do I wish to call forward now? So really think on that and really honour yourself for the process that you've been through, Leo. Reflect on these past 2 years when the eclipses have been falling on in your signs and in your opposite sign on the Leo Aquarius axis. reflect on how you've changed, how far you've come, and how different your world is and how different your relationships are now. So I pulled some cards for you, and they are from the Mythic Oracle deck. It's an oracle deck based around Greek mythology, the Greek gods and goddesses, by Carissa Malado, and Michelle Lee Phelan is the artist. And I felt drawn to these today because obviously the Greek myths are very interwoven with the astrological stories, names, teachings. So 2 cards actually fell out for you. Hermes, the messenger, Mercury himself, messenger of the gods, and Kronos, Saturn. So interesting, both of these planets that are represented by these cards will be stationing direct. And Kronos is about cycles, and he's carrying the sky there, and you know, we are in the harvest period here in the northern hemisphere, and we are in that process of cutting down the old, and we will seed the new as the wheel of the year turns. And it reminds us, it's the message about cycles. You've been through a dark period, Leo. You've been through a period of chaos and change, but nothing remains the same forever. The darkness always gives way to the light, and vice versa. As we observe the cycles of Earth, as we observe the cycles of the cosmos, we know that everything is always in motion, and every difficult time will come to an end. Every time of ease will come to an end. We learn through experiencing both the light and the shadow. So don't be afraid to let go, to cut what isn't giving corn as these planets station and change direction. You will receive messages about what you need to let go of and what you need to seed. So trust in the wisdom that you are offered. Trust in your intuition. Trust in the messages that come through others, that come through social media, that come through messages, signs, omens. The universe is talking to you, Leo. So thank you so much for listening to me. I really hope that this brings you comfort and insight, Leo. And if you would like to connect with me further, there are the links below to my Facebook pages and groups. You can also contact me for readings if you would like to do so. So much love, blessings of abundance for this, your own personal lunar cycle. So much love.